So hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great day so far, wherever you are in the world joining us. My name is Sarah Fairclough, and I'm a member of the Platform Solutions team. Today, I'm joined with Eric and Binky, and we're going to be discussing security within your smart, simple platform. So just a couple housekeeping items before we dive in. The session is being recorded, and it will be shared with everyone who registered, as well as will be posted to our YouTube page in about a week. As well, we love hearing from you and your questions. So if you have any, please post them throughout. We just won't be answering them until the end of the session. But yeah, like I said, just post them throughout and we'll try to answer them to the best that we can. I will let Eric and Binky introduce themselves now. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Lauer. I'm our SVP for Platform Solutions. And one of the co-founders here at Smart Simple is just the nature of the topic today. I thought I'd pop on again. It's been a little while since I've attended one of these. And I'm joined by my colleague, Binky here. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Binky. I'm also a member of the Platform Solutions team here as a second or third set or fourth set of eyes, I guess, at yours, in case anyone needs or has any questions.
Perfect. Yeah, today I got a PowerPoint up, but just quickly, I just wanted to share with everyone a quick agenda. Just want to talk about security just generally as an overview, as how it pertains to the system. And then we'll be switching over to a live session. I'll just go through the platform with you and show you some areas where these things are applicable within the platform. And then we'll open up to any questions or concerns you have. But one of the things I wanted to stress is that, Smart Simple as an organization, we do take things like security as a top priority. And this is just a slide showing some of the certifications and compliance that we have as an organization, sort of beyond the configuration settings, but just as a company. And I guess the two or three most important ones in this particular slide would be the ISO 27001, as well as the SOC 2 Type 2, which apply to us as an organization and how we handle or run the business. So it's not so much about the platform, but rather how we do things internally, policies that we use, how we share information, and things like that. So that is something we take beyond the platform, so to speak, and then we also apply to our organization and our structure. So let's jump right into the platform here. There we go. So today, one thing I wanted to share is just really going through the features within the platform that pertain to security. And one of the ones I wanted to start with is the security matrix. I think there may be some confusion over how that works and how it's being used and how it's applied. But really, and I just want to go on back up too, because we got a new feature coming out that I'll give you a little quick heads up on. But the security matrix is in two areas. Most of you will probably know it within the UTAs themselves, but the one I wanted to start with today is actually in the global settings. So within the global settings, if we go to the security tab, and this would be for administrators only, you would have to have administrative global admin permissions to see this. But it's this tool here, organization and security matrix for users and organizations. So with that enabled, you can get a lot of fidelity on how people are accessing things within the system. And this is throughout the platform. It has, it's not constrained just to the UTA. So for example, in here, I'm on the organization tab, and along the left-hand side, you'll see a list of the roles that are in your system. And on the right-hand side is just the same kind of style of security matrix as you see in the UTAs. But in here, if I select on one of the roles, employee, for example, so in this case, we have very specific settings for them as it relates to organizations within the hierarchy. So basically it says an employee is allowed to view all organizations. However, they can only edit their own organization. So basically the branch that they're part of. So that's a restriction that we put in place. And this is just the demo systems kind of made up anyway, but It's really just to say, well, we want them to see all the organizations within the system, but we don't want them to make any changes. They can only edit the organization that they are a part of. And the same is true down below for organizations of certain categories. So in this case, we're only allowing them to view organizations with the category of branch or Canadian organization, as well as only being able to look up those organizations. So this allows you to build the database of organizations, but you can categorize them and permission them so that only certain roles can see certain organizations. And that's kind of key to building, we're locking down the system in a certain way of how you want people to engage with the data. So if we go to grant staff as an alternative, we'll see here that they're able to actually see everything. So minus the deleting. So they can see all organizations, they can edit, they can add new organizations, they can look up organizations, and they can do so across all categories. So it's a nice way to control what people can see or do. If we have an organization contact, let's say here in the EU, then we're crimping them down so that they can only see their own organization, as well as organizations underneath their hierarchy. And just to explain, for those of you who are not aware, if you are using the security matrix, then this organization hierarchy becomes much more important. In this case, we have the internal hierarchy, so that's your organization's internal structure. And then we have the second tab, which is your external structure. So this is how you're organizing information with the people that you deal with outside of your organization. So by choosing some of those options within the security matrix, I could say, for example, that I want people in our UK office to only see information that pertains to their branch. So this does have implications throughout the system and within the modules and UTAs as well, because the data, for example, that they search, maybe it's like I can see all grants, but if I have this permission in there, then you can lock it down so that I can only see all grants from our UK offices, not all grants at our root organization or somewhere up here. So you can get really granular with how you want to permission information, especially if you're dealing with different departments, dealing with different branches, dealing on a global basis of how you want to organize the information. So this is going back to this place here within the matrix itself. I was talking about the organization, but we can take the same approach with users. So this really decides, how am I going to see other people? So similar for the organizations, the employee role, they're allowed to view and edit their own profile, and they're actually able to view, edit, and look up other people within those organizations. So while they weren't allowed to modify the organizations they were part of, they were in fact able to edit people within those organizations. Now, take our settings here with a grain of salt. This is just our demo system. Some of them, may not be, maybe wondering, well, why would an employee be allowed to edit other places? Again, this is just for sample purposes. In your own system, you can choose the appropriate permissions that are relevant. But yeah, if we go down through here again, you'll see as the role changes, here we have grant staff, they can pretty much do everything. If we go down to the system administrator, they'll also have the delete option, which is quite typical, but it allows you to really get granular on how you want to work with people, users within the system outside of just their roles, but where they are within the structure of your organization. So part of the coming up in the next upgrade, I'll give you a little sneak peek. If I want to make a change, let's say here, I want to go to financial staff. They don't have any settings yet. Maybe I want to let them view all people. When I click save, it's going to actually make me enter a reason. So, prior to the upgrade, this wasn't there. But anytime you make a change to the security matrix, given that it could have implications to how people see or view information, you'll need to put in a reason for this here. Users, And then you can confirm that. And as you make the change, it kind of logs it and gives you, will track the changes in the history as to, what changes have been made, what reasons are here. So from an audit perspective, you're able to see the history of the changes, almost like a track changes on that we've had elsewhere in the platform. It allows you to see that. And then you can also compare, and you can click view to see what the settings were prior. So you do have those moments in time, those snapshots of what the security matrix was. And it's good for testing if you're making some changes. If you want to revert, at least now you have a history of what's going on within there. So that's the organization security matrix. The same is true, just to mention it quickly while we're talking about the security matrix, here in the various modules or UTAs, we're able to also apply those settings within the module. So again, I go into the settings, I go to security, we have a security matrix option here, and we can get very specific as to who can do what, who can see what within the system. So for example, in here now, if we look at our employee again, they're able to add a brand new record. That's quite normal. You want them to be able to create a new grant, let's say. But here, you can notice the restriction is they can only view and edit where they are the owner. So they're the ones who created the record. So in this case, it's applying those permissions on top of the security permissions in the organization's and user ones that we're just looking at. So they would only be able to see ones where they're the owner of, and that would be it. Also, it would also apply the branch. So if you were using that internal branch field within the module, some of you may or may not be using that, but within that one here, I go to this record, certain rules would apply, such as organization. So, depending on, if we activated that security matrix, only certain people, maybe the applicant would only be able to see their own grant for sure. But maybe if we were using the branch, we can limit who can see what records according to that. So even if I have full access in the module to say everything, I could only see things for my own particular branch, which is quite important. Or even I can tie in affiliated organizations, maybe if I'm linked to the record in any way, then I also have access. So these are all things that are controlled through the security matrix for both the organization users as well as the ETAs. And this happens all before getting to this page. So, it has no impact on what fields I see, what I can edit, what I can't edit. That's more granular. That's the security matrix is really high level as to, can I see that record or can I not see that record? If it determines that, yes, I can see this information, then all those other settings kick in terms of, oh, well, what fields can I see? What status is it at? What type of grant is it? And then those permissions will kick in from there. To help you navigate all this, we have another area within the system, again, in global settings. On the system tab, the very first one, we can see a system security summary. So the intent of this page, and everyone, always calls out, it's like, wait a second, you guys are failing the security. So, and that's fine. In our case here for a demo system, it's really just to point out to you, hey, there are security implications in the platform and you should be aware of them. Whether or not you choose to address them or not is your choice, but at least do it knowingly. So in here, for example, we can see that we have enabled our security matrix. So good, we get a check mark for that. And as we go down, we're mostly okay, but we have some items flagged here. We've got 3 high, no medium, and a few low ones. So as long as there's high impact security fails, then you will not pass the security summary. And these may or may not be okay. So for example, we have some sign up pages. Basically it's saying you're allowing people to register where they can edit not just their own organization, but other organizations. So it's more of And that's okay because we're doing that on purpose within our demo system. We want them to, just for a certain configuration and for demo purposes, that's okay. But, things like this would, at least you'd want to check it out and just see, okay, well, is this something that we're okay with, or is this something we need to lock down? And just because it's flagged as a security concern, it doesn't mean it necessarily has implications to you. It's, again, just more of what to be aware of. There's also a button here at the end that allows you to jump to that area where you can see, oh, this got flagged, so take me to the configuration pages that are causing that concern. So if we go down through here, we're doing pretty good. Some of them are low. Things like this, you'll see inherit from parent means it's using the security settings of the folder above it to cascade down. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you may not be aware of what the security permissions are. So I go ahead and create a new folder. Meanwhile, it's open up to everybody. I wasn't aware of that because it's inheriting the security of the folder above it. Things to be aware of. You'll see this in your systems. How come there's so many Smart Simple accounts? There should be support, should always be one that's active in your case. If you're just being implemented or working through a project, you'll see a lot of Smart Simple people in there as we're building out your system. But when you go live, you really should think about removing us from access to the system. You should just have the support account, to be honest, as someone able to access from outside, unless you're going to be doing some work with the people on a project or something like that, where you want them to access the system for a longer period of time. So we categorize things into the high, medium, low, and then optional. Certain things, they're just, again, for awareness. It's like, hey, did you know that some of these reports can be viewed online without a password? That's fine. Hey, wait a second, how come you have more than 5 global administrators? Global administrators should be limited to a few key people only. And then it goes through each of the modules and does the same thing there. So, really, it's a good way to start if you're thinking about, hey, I wonder how our system is, how secure it is. Just go through this page. It's pretty easy to navigate. It's pretty self-explanatory. And we can always, if you contact our team, we can kind of walk through it with you as well. Those are some of the key areas I wanted to focus on today. However, just since we're talking about security, there are some other areas that you should be aware of. As always, roles, right? Make sure you're defining roles for what people are meant to do within the system. That allows you to apply those roles to field permissions. They'll show up in those security matrices I was talking about. So you want to make sure you have enough roles in there to define what people are doing when they're accessing the system. We can also, if we're talking about our global settings, under the security tab, I think this one gets missed almost all the time. But if you're not aware, you control your own password policies. So it's not something that we enforce through the system. So as much as everyone hates them, you should use strong passwords, upper, lower number, special characters. And also you should set a password expiry that's not 0. Again, as part of our security compliance for our ISO and SOC, we have like 30-day password policies on everything, whether it's our email, logging into Smart Simple or other tools. We should enforce that within your system. It's a simple thing to do. I know it annoys people having to remember more passwords, but it is one of the best ways to secure things within the platform. In terms of security and privacy is sort of kind of go hand in hand. If we were to, look at an organization profile or a person, we can flag things within the user or the organization in terms of personally identifiable information. So this system, the platform supports that, where you can flag particular fields as being PII related, right? And it's just a toggle and allows you to flag it and then put a note, almost like a tooltip, to say, why are you collecting that information? And then the user can always come up here and see it in the summary form as to, hey, we need that information to do these things. So, it's a good way to let your users understand why you're collecting that kind of information. And it's always good practice just to even ask, it's why are you collecting that information? Should you collect that information? Do you need that information to do work within your system? In this case, yes, email is required because that's what we use to log in, and the person's name. But if you're asking things for like birth date, employee IDs, things like that, it's like, well, why do you need that information? Are you doing anything with it that serves a purpose for the organization? So just because you can doesn't mean you necessarily should when it comes to that kind of information. And then we'll have other sessions on this, but I just wanted to mention it today, just very high level, without getting into too much detail on it. But we are able to define policies. So this can be presented like this in the system. You can also present this page on login, so people have to accept it when they log into your system. And it's just a nice way to present any privacy or security policies that you have that you want the user to be aware of when they're logging into your system. And you can either reference, type in the details in the system, or you can even reference, if you have this information publicly available on your website, you can just make reference to a URL and then, point them to that area, and then they could view your policies and things online. So again, it's more of a way to make people aware of these policies that you may have when they're logging in. And we're also logging it as well. So when you accept it, every time I log in, it's saying, oh yeah, Eric did click accept, and he's aware of the privacy policy. So you do have a record of me saying that I took a look at it. Yeah, and that was what I wanted to just mention today, high level. If you have any questions on that, we do have another area in terms of policies, but we'll do a separate webinar on that. And it's a bit more involved, but we're able to apply policies to specific field set, and we can do things that relate to security in terms of encrypting the data or masking the data. As you see, like online banking, right? If it hides the credit card number except for the last few digits, we can do that within the system, as well as from a data retention perspective. We can remove data after certain rules or time has expired. But that's a possibility as well. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll open up the floor, I guess, to any questions.
Great, thanks, Eric. That was awesome. It looks like we do have a couple questions. So does the lowest security level apply to all roles? So for example, if an internal staff has both a staff role and a system administrator role, will their access be limited by the staff permissions?
Yes. Sorry, it was bad timing. I'm taking a sip of my coffee. Yes. The system always takes the most restrictive approach to security. So if I'm in a system admin role and I'm an applicant role, I'm not seeing anything because it says, no, this one role, the deny outweighs the allow.
Could we transfer the ability to do versioning to system administrators instead of global administrators?
They are. So you can do that within the module. So you have the ability to enable versioning within the each UTA. So in here, being a UTA administrator, so there's a difference there. So you can you can manage the UTA module by having your role here, but you don't need to be a global admin. So you can give people access to manage their UTA without having to have global admin access. And you should be able to then manage the versioning through here.
Great. Thanks, Eric. It looks like currently that's all the questions we have. But if anybody does have any follow-up questions, please feel free to email us at platformsolutions@smartsymbol.com. Like we said, we're always happy to hear from you. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thanks to Eric for talking to us all about security. It was pretty informative. And we hope to hear from you all soon. We hope you have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.